studio at Cape Town TV. My name is Robin, and I'm very excited today to speak to Mervyn Africa, who is a jazz master pianist and a very interesting person. So he's come here today to talk about what it's like to be a musician, what it was like back in the day, because he's been a musician since he was 5, and also to talk about a concert that happened where he played in the artscape with 5 other master pianists. So I'm going to go over to you. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Mervyn. I was wondering, could you you're described as English, but of South African origin. But
Yes.
you're so South African to me. Can you tell me a little of that story?
Well, I was obviously born here in District 6, Cape Town, and in 1981, I went to England to pursue, my playing and also scholarships. So I've just come back. I don't know if it's the mountain or whatever it is, but something dragged me back to Cape Town. And growing up in England for such a long time, obviously learned about their politics and more about democracy and things like that, how to go about it, how you agree, and when somebody tells you something that hurts you, to be able to combat that. And over the years I've been doing that. And I thought, after Mr. Mandela came out, I needed to get back here and be with my old music family, which, musicians all the time, it's like a family. So I've just come back, and give them and motivate them with some kind of strength,
You were chosen to be a member of the boys' choir when you lived in District 6.
Woo.
You've described that as one of your most vivid memories.
Oh my God.
Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, when I was 5, I started playing piano, but obviously classics at the time and beginners. But, what happened was there was this Scottish guy who was a choir leader, Mr. McAdam, and he had the Cape Town Boys Choir. So what happens is of all the churches, Anglican church, all the churches, all the kind of churches, they would pick someone out of the churches to be in this choir. And luckily I was one. I wasn't a great singer, but I could play piano, and which they also sometimes used me. If the pianist didn't come, and they would use me to play certain things. But it was a experience of a lifetime for me. Being with other singers and living and basically growing up as a musician and singer. Well, I won't talk about the little naughty things. We were supposed to be angels, but we did a lot of pranking and this and that, like kids do, but we used to help each other quite a lot. Like say for instance, I've got a part to sing. I'll always have 4 or 5 people around me telling me how to breathe properly, singing, or just not singing out of my heart. I had to breathe to sing. So that's a bit of it.
So you grew up in a community of musicians in District 6, and then basically you spoke about going to England, but basically you went into exile because you weren't able to play with different races musicians. So I was just wondering, what was it like going into exile?
It was very scary going into exile. Leaving your country, friends, family, and but I was at a height of music and things like that, and I wouldn't let it go. And I thought, no, I need to have a break, because it wasn't that easy in the dark days. But when I when I got there, I met up with great people like Julian Mahula, Dudu Bakwana, Yuma Sikela, and many more that were there already. So it was a little bit easier, and we sort of, created some kind of South African family,
So in growing up in that way with a South African base and then moving over to where there was a lot of different things happening, including meeting a lot of South Africans, you went through many different styles. Like, you're known as a jazz pianist, but actually you have a range of bands and trios and things that you played at festivals. So could you tell me a little bit more about how that worked for you, how it is that you came to be so versatile?
Well, at first, I thought to myself, not to talk about bad-mouth America, but I thought, I'm not going to America instead to be in exile. I'd rather go to England, because the reason was there's a lot of cultures, there's a lot of, different music, different folk, and I was really into it was easy for me to go from classic to folk. But I basically sort of grew up here, in my teens, playing in bands, and like Oswiti, which means we don't know. We were just interested in music and taking it forward, And when I went over there, it was the musicians and everything, they were so supportive. And the other thing is like, everyone was just, like I said, like a family, really.
Thank you so much. We are very interested in hearing more about this and more about being a musician, what it takes to have the soul of a musician like you do. But I'm afraid we're going to need to start to go to a cutaway, and then we'll come back and talk more about that.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome back to Open Studio at Cape Town TV. We're speaking to Mervyn Africa, who is an amazing jazz pianist with a fascinating history. We were talking about what you did in exile, how you learned so many different styles, and I really wanted to ask about what your influences were that formed you becoming a musician, to the extent that you can be like as variable in spaces as you can.
Like I said, I started at 5 years old, and my whole family, we're from a musical family, so my whole family played piano. So at that time there was no television like we have now, and so everyone had to render some kind of performance, for aunties visiting, and Christmas times, we all had a bit of a concert at home, so what happened? I kept going on playing the classics, but I was really attracted to jazz. My uncles would come off the boats, and they had all this funny color sort of albums, green, orange albums that they brought from the Far East, being on the boats, and they would play the jazz, and I loved the very first time I heard Duke Ellington play, because it was very close to classics, so I could relate a little bit to that. And then after, of course, I got into bebop, listening to bebop jazz, and around about, say, 15, when I was about 15, 16, I went, I told my dad, I really wanted to, because I really want to play jazz, you see, because they wanted me to be a church organist like my brother. And I kept on going, sulking, it all worked, And then I told him that I really wanted to play jazz, learn jazz, to play jazz. And he said to me that, he's got a relative of us, Mr. Henry Febb, and he plays jazz. You know, you will have a word with him. It came okay. I went for my first lesson with Henry Febb, and I had all my books with me. Like, you know, sometimes see kids, you know, walking with so many books. That was me. I bought all those books, and he would say, now you're going to put all those books away, and you're going to learn to play jazz. And learning to play jazz, you need to play from your heart. You know, not reading, not anything. You have to play from your heart. So he started me off.
And one of the things is that you have a deep connection to music and to the two different worlds you lived in. Would you say what it's like actually being an artist like you are? How you see the world because of the fact that you play music? What is it like to be you?
Well, you know, like being an artist to me it's like being a preacher, really. You know, it's like, you know, you've got this thing that nobody knows that you feel, and you just project it over to people and let people know about it. So you're like a priest. It's very spiritual.
So it's a spiritual experience that you want to share with others. Could you tell me about working and collaborating with some of your friends and some of the people that you've worked with, like Hugh Masekela? What does it take to collaborate?
Yeah, collaborating was always easy, because I mean, like, if you're in bands and things, you all do things collectively. You know, I mean, sometimes people would ask you, just say things like you're playing the wrong chord, and sit back and think, how do you know you play bass? You know, like, and those kind of things used to come up. But collaboration has always been my thing. And when I worked with Hugh Masekela, he taught me quite a lot. He taught me one thing, to play jazz or play a music we play, you know, solo. He's a kickstart for me, you know, going to solo, because what will happen? We'll play a song, right? We play a song, and instead of me playing with a band, you know, a solo with a band like normal, he would stop the whole band and let me play alone on my own, just within the same time. So he's taught me a lot, things like that, you know, learning how to present yourself on your own, and you know, to be strong and learn control, really.
One thing I found interesting is that you speak about having to stay fit to be able to be a solo artist. So obviously I never thought of that you just sit at a piano and play for ages. You actually have to be quite fit. What do you do to stay fit?
Ooh, I walk, you know, around the Bosch Common. I walk, you might see me there. I walk every second day, you know, I do a walk, you know, I walk and I exercise, you know, and because I mean, playing the piano, it's not just sitting there, because what happens is, like, you start arching your back. Instead of sitting like you started off, you start doing that. And then you find it's quite tiring after a while, you know. I still do it, you know, but it's quite tiring, you know. And I thought the other day, why didn't nuns always, you know, like take the ruler and beat me from the back, keep your keep your back straight. But there was a reason for that, because in classical, just like jazz, especially the jazz now, you know, it's very, not just it's taxing. You know what I mean? So if you play here, you can bend and just play here in the middle. But sometimes you want to play out there, and you need your back straight to be able to have that same strength. So
That's new. I really didn't even think of that one. We're going to go into some more stuff that you're doing here in Cape Town next. I'm going to speak to you about the Jazz Art series the concert that you did.
Mm-hmm.
But before we do that, I just wanted to know, is there something that you would like to say to a musician? Just a quick thing that's out there.
Yeah. Do you want it now?
Yeah,
Oh.
very quick thing, one liner.
Well, yeah, it's a 3-word thing,
Okay.
you know. Remembering the years gone by or your history. Number 2, living and enjoying your life. Performing and always enjoy your gig. Even if there's one person there, you can make them enjoy themselves. And plan for the future. That is very essential, playing, jazz.
Oh, thanks. We're going to go to a break. We'll be back with Mervyn afterwards. Thank you. Welcome back. You're watching Open Studio on CTV, and we are talking to Mervyn Africa, who is a jazz master pianist and a musician with a big heart. So nice to have you. I was wondering if you could talk about coming back from the UK to South Africa, and you had some ideas of what you wanted to do here, being a musician, but also maybe a project or two you wanted to run. Could you let us know about that?
Yeah, when I came over, I had the idea to have a gift of gratitude, and which meant it's like I wrote about 400 songs, and just wanted to give every musician, because musicians don't really give each other songs, and I wanted to try that, and I don't care if it takes long now, but that is one of my biggest aims. And also coming back to Cape Town to be part of motivating the musicians, and getting all the musicians back together again. Thank you very much.
So you were part of the Jazz Master series at Artscape that happened, which included a group of Jazz Master pianists. I was wondering if you could tell me how that collaboration came apart. How that came to be, because you had an album before that. Yes, if I was wondering if you could tell me about that.
Well, we did an album with Paddy Lee Thorpe, and Muff Anderson was the engineer, and all the musicians got together because people like Ramon Alexander, from iStudios, came up with the idea that is, why don't we perform all, and it's quite historical, and we all had various talks about it, and then like Ramon just made it happen with iStudios, and to put us and thought as best, to put a performance up at the Artscape, for the gig,
So who were the people that you were working with? Could you tell me a little about them?
Well, there's two people that is quite, they are relatives of me, which is which is Hilton and his uncle, Shalil Ibrahim. Yeah, it was all the Skolder, and they part family of us. Their grandmother was in Africa, and she was related to my dad. So it's quite a musical circle with him and us, I believe that when I was gone, they every year in the city hall they used to have a little clash, like the Africans against the Skolders, and all the musicians, played. I hope they do it again. But and the only person that I haven't met I'll be so honored to meet him is Mike Perry. I've worked with Hilton, with Shalil, and I haven't worked with his name Alexander Ramon, sorry, demand, but I've never worked with Mike Perry. And to me, the gig is like, for instance, you know, okay, we all got all our own bands and little formats and things like that. So this is very historical, that we're actually doing a gig where all the pianists are playing, you know, and telling their stories, and everyone is well rehearsed, and it should be a very, very good concert. Thank you.
So the one part of it is that you played the piano, and the other part you played with a trio. Was it difficult to move so fast between the two of them?
No. I mean, I'm used to doing that. Yeah, and so the other musicians as well.
And the series intended to hark back to older jazz musicians, but also bring like a unique, fresh note from the pianists.
Yeah, it's just the encouragement, you know, that we do things like this in the future. You know, like I would love to have all woman jazz pianist, you know, series thing going, and then hopefully you know, collaborations with young and old, and we need that. We need to create a history of our culture.
When you talk about collaborations, what do you think is the best way that musicians today in South Africa, given the circumstances that the music industry is in, what is the best way for them to try and collaborate with other people? What sort of an attitude should they have? Or
well, you know, I do think that, you know, people should take this initiative up, you know, and putting more. I mean, everyone is doing sort of like workshop here and workshop here. They should collectively put one in and always have a concert going, you know, for younger musicians, and a chance, you know, it's not just going to the jam session. Not all older musicians drink, you know what I mean? And then, you know, and some people have you know, the creedal sort of situations, you know, where they wouldn't go to where somebody's drinking. But it will be good, like, if these jam sessions could just all come together and, you know, do something collectively, you know. Thank you.
thank you so much, Mervyn. It's been amazing talking to you. Please don't forget that we will have segments of all of the pianists on CTV next week or the week after, and you'll be able to see Mervyn actually playing in the flesh. And I'm very excited for this project. I'm very excited, and I hope we can work with you again. Thank you so much, Mervyn.
Thank you.
That's the end. This is Open Studio, and thank you for being with us.